Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how mainstream media endlessly willfully misinterprets any information, any study, any statistics to make men, particularly white men, particularly straight white men, look bad. And to make others look good. So if 99% of a population is white, but whites commit 51% of the murders and 49% are done by the 1%, for example, black people, then the headline will be 51% whites commit murder, fucking Nazi fascists. Yeah! And they won't sort of give any details as to what the real issues are around that. You mean 1% of the population commits 49% of the murders? Holy crap, that's an emergency. There's something really wrong there. But they don't touch that. White people and males and men and Western countries have been made to look bad. And there's a very, the selective cherry picking of statistics. But it doesn't matter how, what they're doing. It is a willful attempt to make white people, white countries, and straight white men look bad. Now, one of these was a recent study about the amount of motor vehicle collisions and deaths that occur when there are women drivers versus straight men or men. I'm not sure it breaks it down to be straight, but men. So they say that 2 out of every 3 deaths are caused by men on the road. So I was okay, well, therefore men are the worst drivers. I mean, what other, there you go. Those are the hard facts, and that's it. The jury's in, and that's the outcome. So women are better drivers. You go, girls, stunning and brave. Men are bad drivers. You fucking fascist Nazis. And so, but hey, hold on a minute. Let's just have a look here. The average amount of distance travelled by women was an average of 2,000 kilometres per woman, as opposed to 35,000 kilometres driven by men. 85% or more than 85% of the people that drive for work are men. So they're going to clock up way more miles. So when you recalculate based on kilometres travelled, women are far more lethal than men on the road. So for every 100 kilometres a woman travels, she's going to kill somebody. But with men, it's every 1,500 kilometres they're going to kill somebody. So men are, if you want to get behind the wheel with somebody, then other than say a young man who's a hothead or something, but that aside, you're going to be, men are going to be much less likely to go and kill somebody than a woman is. Now that the man may do it by doing acts of daring, speeding or something like that. Woman may do the same thing through carelessness and negligence and that sort of thing. So but it really doesn't matter how. But when you look at the numbers, then what you see is that per kilometre travelled, women are far more likely to kill someone than a man is when travelling on the road. But almost any statistic you look at that they use, the mainstream media or even politicians use to make men, particularly white men, look bad, are either half told or manufactured or invented or so. For example, in Australia, they constantly throw around statistics about male violence against women, and then they show a picture of a white man oppressing a huge towering white man oppressing his tiny, diminutive little frail little white wife or girlfriend. I hardly ever see that sort of disparity, but that's propaganda they use to depict. So the implication is that there's gender men beating up on women, that could be their wives or girlfriends or partners, beating up on women is widespread, and it's white men that are doing it. That's the inference, and when they declare these numbers. But the reality is quite different. Three quarters of the violence against women complaints come from 2% of the population, all of whom are black. So blacks are out of all proportion. They're the rate of violence that they're saying exists. I'm not sure how much it actually does. Whether these are just anecdotal sort of allegations rather than proven cases of it, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter how you look at it. 3/4 of them come from just 2% of the population. Then there's a large slab of non-white men, like Middle Eastern men and Arabic men, that sort of thing. And then you've got so straight white males account for the smallest proportion of allegations and claims of violence against women. So yet that's never said. It's never said. I have not heard any mainstream news outlet say that. They will always, no matter how much the black and brown people are committing these acts of violence or rape or anything else, they will always infer, every time, they will always infer it's white people that are doing it exclusively. By the way, black and brown people aren't even mentioned. It's always depicted as an issue and nor a white working class issue, by the way. They don't depict it as a white working class. There's always very sophisticated looking woman, very well dressed, very well turned out. So they make sure that it's not a class issue, that it's squarely middle, if not upper middle class white issue, which is just absolutely, utterly absurd. So these are the sort of examples of the way statistics are used to bamboozle us, but all the time the inference is that it's white people, or white men rather, that are the culprits and the perpetrators, and so on. Now, when there is a situation where a white male does injure or murder or assault or something a female, then it's headline news. It is headline news for days. And there's all these dramatic, sort of pathetically dramatic situations on TV where the female presenter will start to cry into the camera. When are men going to stop hurting women? Oh, when will they ever learn? That was that was one. This is the white guy killed somebody just around random, and yet it's such a rare thing to occur that. And yet they make out like something happens every day, all the time. When are these white men going to stop? Oh. And it's all stage managed. It's all pathetic bullshit. But the list, I could go on with the list of the inferences that it's white men, middle class white men, that are committing all the rapes in Australia. Whereas again, white people commit a tiny proportion of the rapes compared to all other groups. And underage sex. Again, what white men are, the occurrence of it is very rare. It's mostly black and brown people who are doing it, but that's not mentioned. It's only ever cast and depicted as a problem of straight white males and so on. So when you look at statistics and you hear them, start to think about it. For example, just a simple exercise like a mind game type exercise, and you're told that women are much safer drivers than men. Now, from what you've seen, that's not true. And to prove it, we can say that men kill more women than kill more people than women drivers do. So to stop from and say, okay, how many long-distance truck drivers and couriers do I know that are women? Okay, some, but nearly all the ones are men. So that means men are travelling many more miles than women do when they're driving. So if men are only killing double the amount of people that women are, assuming that's even but they're travelling, 100 times more distance, more miles than women are, then they're killing far fewer women per mile travelled. And so try and think about numbers when you hear them. Think about, well, hold on, let me just think about this. Let me just look at these numbers and see what they're talking about. And even the case of white men doing rapes. Hold on a minute, white men with money and nice house, good jobs, they can get pretty much any woman they want, within reasons. They've got plenty of women queuing up to get to them. They could afford to pay prostitutes if it was times were tough and so on. So why would they need to go out and violently rape somebody? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, if you look at the black people, their culture is as soon as a girl menstruates, she should be available for intimate relations. Then it'd be far more likely to occur in that situation, and so on. So you can start looking, just look at it at first. So wait a minute, let me just put the pieces in place here, and you'll find out for yourself after just a little bit of thought. Or go online and start digging around for the numbers, and you'll find you're just being lied to by these media stations who just want to make white people, white society, look bad. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.